Welcome back, YouTube. Today we're going to be building a Hitch cargo rack for my van. I got some scrap material from work, just some rectangular tubing, 1/8 inch thick. That should do the job. Hearing protection. After taking some measurements, I decided I want my rack to be 20 inches wide. I thought about 24, but I think having that extra weight on the back might not be the best idea. So I'm going to stick with 20 inches. So one of these pieces that I just cut down, I'm going to shorten this to 20 inches. And because I want an extra bit of clearance on the back, where this stops, I'm actually going to cut that into here and weld it together so that I have 2 more inches going up before the platform. Alright, I ended up cutting another piece because I thought once I have 2 inches here of the frame and 2 inches out there, with 20 inches that would only give me 16 inches. I wanted 18, so got rid of the old piece, cut a new one out, and this will give me 18 inches in the middle. I'm going to tack this together and see what it looks like. Alright, so the welds aren't all that great, but they're penetrating and they're going through. I don't use a stick welder a whole lot, so bear with me. Alright, once again, beads are not that pretty, especially on this side. Where it was metal to metal was pretty easy, and over here isn't as terrible, but that's going to hold. That works. All right, we now have our mainframe piece done, or center support, whatever you want to call it. I notched out a 45, so I have less chance of hitting the ground when I'm going over bumps and whatnot. I have the long pieces cut. That's what we started with in the video. Now I got to cut the pieces that run this way, and they're going to be 18 inches. Alright, I haven't welded anything together yet, but this is the idea. Got the main frame. That's going to look beautiful. I'm going to need some kind of supports on the end for my plywood to sit down in onto. And I don't really like having just this stitch along these sides and that side in case it teeter-totters, over bumps. So I'm going to make some kind of support bracket, probably to go from there to here. Not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but this is the idea. Alright, we got our bar clamps on. Everything's nice and tight. Took the square to all the corners, everything's square. There might be like a variance of a 1/16 of an inch over everything. I can live with that, especially because it's going to wobble in the hitch a little bit. But yeah, it's time to start welding this together. Now we have our frame all welded together. We'll throw this piece back on top. I'm going to get that centered up on there, make sure it's square, and then we'll tack this in place. I like it. Got a little bit of wobble there. That's to be expected with these cargo racks. Overall, not bad. I had this in the receiver. I got it to where it sat nicely, and I threw some clamps on there. I have the upper part of the frame sitting on jack stands, so I didn't knock my clamps off. Now I get to weld it in place. Put it on the van, everything's sturdy. It bounced up and down on each corner. Welds actually came out pretty good. They're not beautiful, but they'll hold. Got some porosity there. I'm working with this old stick welder built in '71. So not terrible for its age. Now I'm just gonna put some cross supports on here, probably cut down some 45s, and I'll be about done. Alright, I saved you guys from watching the cutting, but I cut this tubing down to 45-degree angles, and I have it welded back there, weld it here to our main center support, and then weld it over there, just to give it a little more bracing. I don't like having just this as our weld point, and of course back there too. So I'm going to weld this up and then throw some angle iron in the corners so I can drop plywood right onto it, and that's it. Alright, we got that all welded on both sides. Now it's time to cut some angle iron to go in the corners, and then I'll cut a sheet of plywood to drop in, paint it, and we're done. Alright, I have some angle iron pieces welded on. So I'm going to drop my sheet of plywood right in there, anchor it down, and we're good. But for now, I think we're ready for paint. Everything is now welded together, nice and secure. These turned out pretty well. I like the angle iron pieces too. We'll see how they work with plywood tomorrow. I just have a file. I'm going to take down any sharp edge. I have some sandpaper. I'm going to prep it. We'll prime it, hit it with a gloss coat, and we'll have wood on it tomorrow. It's daytime, thankfully. So I was able to get 2 coats of primer on and 1 coat of the Rust-Oleum enamel. I think it looks pretty good. We did get some rains. You can see there's some slight inconsistencies, especially on this rail here where it got a little water on it. I can always sand that down later, but everything looks pretty good. I'm happy with how it turned out. Next, I'm gonna cut a sheet of plywood that'll sit on these pieces of angle iron and in there, like so. I might throw some more supports in later down the road, but I have some really nice 3/4 inch plywood that's not gonna go anywhere.
Stop, bro.
Time for the last step. Hopefully I measured correctly. I can live with that. Probably stick some washers inside the receiver so it doesn't wobble as much. But I think that turned out pretty well. If you want more of this content, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know. Thanks for watching.